Hello and welcome to the first edition of the William Hill Cox Plate Carnival Update. My name's Alistair Dwyer, he's Ben Spall. Ben, with less than 90 days to go, things are starting to heat up a little bit in the William Hill Cox Plate Carnival fields. Obviously not the weather in Melbourne, it's bloody freezing out there at the moment. But let's sort of touch on a few of the highlights and a few of the fields taking shape. The last weekend that we just had, obviously very interesting with the international runners overseas. The Aidan O'Brien trained Highland Reel and Ryan Moore gave it a great front-running ride. Can you just talk us through? Aidan O'Brien sort of mentioned the Melbourne plans are still on track.
Yeah, he mentioned that it might come out here, and he's a familiar face to those who, of course, backed him last year when he finished third behind Winx and Criterion. He was dominant. You mentioned he led all the way in that King George and Queen Elizabeth. He was good before that too over the Royal Ascot Carnival, so he's raced in a rich vein of form. And it'd be great to have him back out here.
There's talk he might be heading to the Caulfield Cup as well, so there's every chance that he might go that way. What's your inkling?
Watch this space. I'd love to see him here at the Valley, though.
The other one that went around on the weekend, Time Test, won impressively at York.
Yeah, Roger Charlton trained Time Test. Really like this guy. $51 available about him as well. So if he happens to get on a plane and come out here, that price is going to get cut down pretty considerably, I'd think. He was a short price favourite, got the job done at York overnight on Saturday over the weekend. And really like this guy.
Well, let's start and have a look at the William Hill Cox Plate field. Obviously, Winx, we can't go by without mentioning her at the top. She's aiming to be the first mare since Sunline to go back-to-back. Strong $2.80 favourite, obviously. Chris Waller since come out and said that her campaign probably included about 5 runs. Can you sort of talk us through what sort of we're looking at there?
Yeah, it could have a trial as early as next week. Chris Waller's come out and said in Sydney, and the campaign's going to start in New South Wales with the Chelmsford and the George Main being the 2 kick-off points before possibly a run in the Caulfield Stakes or something along those lines before the Cox Plate. So probably going to be about 4th or 5th up into the campaign, but it looks like an August 20 kick-off in Sydney with a trial as early as next week.
So here we can see on screen her winning last year very impressively. So August 20 she'll be running in Sydney. Obviously we'll have Winx Watch here at the Valley. We are racing that day and on September 3 as well, so that's going to be fantastic. 9 wins in a row, so if she gets to the Cox Plate, she'll be about 14 obviously. So geez, won't that be interesting if she can remain undefeated for that streak. Let's get the William Hill Cox Plate Carnival market up right here as we speak. So here's obviously, you can see Winx here is a $2.80 favourite. Look, that looks short in the futures market, but if she remains undefeated and comes here, you're probably looking at potentially odds on, which will be a first for a long time.
As a bloke who doesn't mind taking shorts, $2.80 this far out doesn't look too bad at all.
So Werther, obviously, you'll see there's $13. I think Hong Kong trainer John Moore is very positive that maybe 2017 might be more on that Werther's agenda.
I think you're right there, Alistair. It might be a job next year for Werther, but he's certainly been impressive in Hong Kong.
United States, $15. The Randwick Stakes winner, Lloyd Williams, still looking for that inaugural William Hill Cox Plate.
Close to my heart, this horse, ever since his Moonee Valley Cup win. I'd love to see him come back for the big one in the Cox Plate. I think he'd be pretty hard to beat.
Maurice, $15. Looks right at the top of our international invites list. Word is that he might be heading somewhere else.
Yeah, heads the dream team, Maurice. So I think they're confident that a Japanese horse may make its way here to the Valley, but it clashes with that big Tenno show race they've got over there in Japan. So watch this space with Maurice.
Lucia Valentina, or Lucia Valentina, depends what side of the tracks you're from. $17. Obviously, you won the Queen Elizabeth Stakes last year. It had a very, very soft trial last week, didn't it?
Yeah, it did indeed. And gee, flashbacks of winning on that last day of the Flemington Carnival.
So that'll be set for the Group 2 Warwick Stakes. So that'll meet Winx on August 20. So that'll be a fascinating run. Yankee Rose, $18. The David Van Dyke trained 3-year-old. Obviously won the Size Produce Stakes win. Obviously, there's plenty of interest around this horse as well.
Yeah, going to be interested to see how it comes back as a 3-year-old, as you mentioned, after an impressive 2-year-old campaign.
Tarzino, $21. That's interesting. Obviously, Mick Price is weighing up his options where he's heading.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Caulfield Cup and a Melbourne Cup campaign, or sort of keep him fresh and towards a Cox Plate. Personally, I think Derby winner's probably a little bit better suited to the bigger tracks and the longer distances.
We've got here Tosin Stardom, $26. We're just going to get a photo up here of Tosin. Have a look at the size of this.
How about this beast?
Former Japanese galloper, now trained by Darren Weir, and there's plenty of talk around Tosin Stardom. That $26 might be quite juicy.
Yeah, rumours are he's working very well, and as you can see by that photo, he's an absolute powerhouse of a galloper. We all know how well the Japanese race here in Melbourne, so really looking forward to seeing Tosin Stardom in the spring.
Let's just push through a couple of interesting runners. Preferment, $34 currently, I believe. Chris Waller might try and avoid Winx if she's in form, which no doubt she will be, and might head to the
Fair enough
Melbourne
too,
Cup.
isn't it?
Yeah, I would have thought so.
Yep. Gee, flashbacks if Awesome Rock comes and the 2 Australian Cup, the protest, they fight it out again.
So Awesome Rock is also been coveted to come out here. A couple of grand campaigners, we can't not mention these. $51 you're getting for Happy Trails. Record 5th crack at the Cox Plate. So, geez, those punters from the Seamus Award year would still be sweating, wouldn't they?
Happy Charles, I think he's seen more Cox Plates than I have, that bloke. But,
No doubt he probably has.
Be good to see him here in Melbourne in good form.
And a couple of our favourites, the Cleaner and Mourinho, the Galagotis brothers. We love them, those guys out here at the Valley. Both getting about $100 on those, and they'll probably make an appearance on the William Hill Cox Plate Qualifier race day on September 3.
Be fantastic to see the Cleaner try and make it 3 dardos in a row. He loves rolling along in front over the mile here at the Valley.
Of course, if you win that race, you're into the William Hill Cox Plate.
And how about his trial the other day? Super impressive.
Yes.
Ooh, watch out.
That was very impressive. Let's move on to some of the internationals quickly. Vadamos, I think, is one that $51 is potentially a chance.
Yeah, talk circulating that Vadamos may head the list as a possible international candidate to come out here for the Cox Plate. French mare that's racing quite well, so Vadamos a strong chance. Shinakari was a little bit disappointed in his last run. He was pretty short, guilty of taking them at Royal Ascot, and a little bit disappointing, but be interesting if he tries and dodges Maurice over that October period and comes out to Australia instead. Kidderson Plaque was very encouraging, and I'm going to need your help with the pronunciation of the race he ran well in.
The Takarazuka Kinnan, Ben, that's what it's called over there. Very impressive here in the replay, as you can see.
Very dominant up on pace, and gee, it'd be interesting if the Cleaner and Highland Reel, you know, they're very dominant on pace runners. So Kidderson Black, if it did happen to come out here to Moonee Valley, would roll right up on the pace. TriStar's a horse from the Godolphin yard going well, and it got brought into the equation by a horse from Scottish. I'm not sure if you saw, Alistair, which won in the UK in Newbury recently, and the team come out and said both TriStar and Scottish hopefully coming towards a Cox Plate McKinnon tilt.
So Scottish has not got an invitation as of yet. MVRC CEO Michael Brow has since come out and said that he's not invited, but there's every chance the Godolphin will still come out and bring him out, which will be fantastic.
Interesting to monitor his moves as well. We know that Highland Reel and Adelaide, they both got late invitations from the club, so not all hope lost there for the Godolphin team.
And there's talk that the Grey Gatsby and Cannock Chase probably will decline the invitations.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out, but yeah, there may be better races back home for those two.
For more information on all this, please head to coxplate.com.au as tickets are now on sale. And we'll have more information on all this and more coming up on August 2nd when nominations close. So we'll see you then. Bye for now.